And we are good to go. Not only can you listen to the Saturday Morning Scramble, you can watch the show. We are live on Twitter, we're live on Facebook, and we are live on YouTube at The Fan Upstate, on Twitter at The Cole Bryson. Anything to talk about this morning? Any discussion to be had, Alex Guest? Are you okay? I know you're a Gaffney guy, and you called me visibly upset last night. You good now?
What was I that upset?
Not upset now, or have you slept on it? You're good to go.
Let's see. Anything to talk about? Let me see. Let me just run.
Just
through.
A few games.
Yeah, let me just run through this.
And by the way, how did we? I know you're trying to avoid and play your best dodgeball impression here and dodge the question. But how did you and I do?
The Christchurch Southside Christian game. That's one to talk about.
We will talk about it.
Okay.
How did we do last night in our picks? I know it was a better night for you than it was for me.
Well, I'm just trying to play catch up at this point because you've had a pretty significant lead on me all season, and I finally have narrowed it down to within 2 games. So,
legitimately or
legitimately?
Okay. Yeah.
I mean,
I like to pick. I don't like to lose.
You picked 7 games last week after they had already been played, and you still didn't know how to do that. So you were 21-4 last night. So not a bad night.
Not a bad night. Not a bad, but you were
23-2.
That's good. 2 games you got wrong.
Malden. I picked Woodmont, or I picked Malden to beat Woodmont on Tuesday night, and then Gaffney.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's pretty good. Which were the 4 I got wrong? Because I didn't get any wrong on Tuesday.
Yeah, you went 7-0 Tuesday night. You picked Gaffney to beat Dorman.
So I got that one wrong.
Yeah.
Thanks.
You picked Fountain Inn to beat Emerald.
How did you pick? You picked Emerald for what reason? Because I picked Fountain Inn?
Yes. Yeah. That game actually, that was a close game. That went to
How did Emerald beat Fountain Inn?
Well, it went to double overtime.
Gosh.
And they won by a field goal. You picked Chesney to beat Crescent.
I know, man.
And
they were up 10-0.
Yeah.
And never scored again.
Yeah.
And Crescent scored, 27?
Yeah. And you picked Landrum to beat Liberty. And I said last week, I can't pick against my Liberty guys, So.
Yeah, that was bad. I thought those games. Wait, you're Liberty guys.
Well, I got a friend of mine is a DB's coach over there at Liberty. So.
Well, I wish you had told me they were better than Landrum. I would have picked them.
Well, I'm trying to play catch up here.
So what do we? What are our season tallies now?
You still hold the lead on the overall season tallies by 2 games.
Wow,
167 and 38, which is good for about 81.5 win percentage.
Okay,
and I am 165 and 40, which is good for about 80.5 win percentage. So
it's pretty good. It's pretty good. And there are games today.
There's 7 games today.
Which one? Let's before we get to scores from last night.
Okay.
Because I have a little interest.
Okay.
I might go to a little high school football.
Yeah.
Right? What games today, Alex?
Well, I will go in chronological order.
Okay.
4 games today at noon. A noon kickoff. Blue Ridge at Daniel.
Ooh.
That's a haul for both of us.
I picked Daniel, by the way.
You did. I picked Daniel as well.
Well, actually, you know what? You should think about that. Because I picked Daniel, you should pick the opposite.
No.
Okay, next.
Not in that game.
I just asked.
There are 2 1:00 kicks today. Berea at Travelers Rest and Pickens at Seneca. The game that there's only one game that we have picked differently today, and it's that Berea Travelers Rest game. You have Travelers Rest. I have Berea.
Oh, we got to go Devil Dogs. Let's go Devil Dogs.
And then later on this afternoon, 2:00 Woodmont at Hillcrest.
That'd be a good game.
6:30 Greenville at TL Hanna, and then 2 7:00 kicks Easley at Greenwood and Jail Man at Malden.
Yeah, the only game I'd have interest there is Hillcrest who? Woodmont? What time's that game?
Woodmont Hillcrest at 2:00 at Hillcrest. So
at Hillcrest. How about that? A little Saturday football for you.
You could go to like the Woodmont Hillcrest game, and then once that game is over, just head like 10 minutes up the road to the Jail Man Malden game.
No, I'm good. I'm good. Think so. Appreciate the offer.
Catch a few games in one day.
Yeah, be a lot. 71307 is the way you can text into the Saturday Morning Scramble. If you were at a game last night and want to talk about it, you can do so. Again, 71307.
Were you at a game last night?
I was at,
okay.
well, I don't know if you call it a game, but I was at a contest last night.
Okay.
71307. Start your text with the word fan. We're also live on Twitter, Facebook, and YouTube. Phone lines are open. 844-FAN. Phone 844-326-3663. I know they had to call the Woodruff Chapman game early last night, Alex, due to an injury. I saw a pretty bad injury where the stretcher had to come out last night with about 5.5 minutes at Spartanburg Burns. Hope those players who were seriously injured last night are okay. Hope they're okay.
Yeah.
Alex Guest, before we get into the games, scores from last night, what do you have for us?
Well, we'll go scores from last night and scores from Tuesday, so that way people know what happened this week. And so on Tuesday night, 5A Region 1 and 4A Region 2, they both played games on Tuesday night. So J.O. Mann defeated Greenwood 31-14. Hillcrest, a 38-14 winner over Greenville. Woodmont, 34-28 over Malden. TL Hanna, 57-20 over Easley. You look great, Cole. Don't worry about the camera.
Oh, I was adjusting the lens.
And then also on Tuesday night, Greer, 42-21 over Pickens. Daniel, 56-0 over Berea. And Seneca, 47-21 over Blue Ridge. And then games that happened last night. Spartanburg, 58-14, a winner over Burns. Eastside defeated Wade Hampton 34-0. Boiling Springs 41-6 winners over Riverside. Emerald knocks off Fountain Inn 37-34 in double overtime. Wren a 63-0 winner over Southside. Westside 49-3. They defeat Lawrence. Then Belton Honeypath 48-7 winners over Pendleton. Crescent 21-10. They knock off Chesney. Walhalla defeats West Oak 62-0. St. Joseph's 35-14 winners over Palmetto. Powdersville defeats Carolina 56-20. And what I thought was a baseball score for most of the game.
God.
Christchurch 11-7 winners over Southside Christian.
They had 4 points at one point.
4 points, yeah.
What
Southside Christian took
world?
2 intentional safeties.
Oh, really?
2 intentional safeties because they were backed up against their own end zone. Didn't feel like they were able. Yeah, I don't know. 11-7, Christchurch defeated Southside Christian. Mountain
Seems
View,
like you might need those 4 points back. All right, go ahead.
Well, yeah, I guess so. They did lose by 4. Mountain View Prep 49-20 over Broome. Woodruff defeated Chapman 44-10. Blacksburg falls to Clinton 61-14. Liberty a 42-24 winner over Landrum. Abbeville defeated Dixie 63-14. And then our Skeezer friends Greenwood Christian knocks off Clarendon Hall 47-6. And Spartanburg Christian falls to Calhoun Academy 50-7. And I did miss one score. Dorman defeated Gaffney 9-7.
Well, I was going to ask you what the Dorman Gaffney score was. I know you, as a Gaffney fan, are trying to avoid that score, but there's no avoiding it on this show. 9-7. Alex, we'll start with that. If I would have told you that Dorman would not score a touchdown last night going into the game, you would have said to me,
Gaffney wins by 3 touchdowns.
Comfortably, right? They win comfortably.
Yeah.
That's not how that game went.
No.
Dorman 9, Gaffney 7.
Yep.
Final score, 1 touchdown for Gaffney was the only touchdown between both teams. It was a pass from Javon Gilmore to Jamarcus Smith, Alex, and that was it. Dorman 3 field goals. What a win for Jake Morris. What a win for Dorman. Kind of feel like Jake Morris needed that one. You know, it just kind of feel like he needed that one in a big, big way. By the way, Jake Morris will be joining the Saturday Morning Scramble in about 1 hour and 10 minutes from now. So stay tuned for that. About 9:20, we will hear from Jake Morris. Alex, you were there. I'll just put it in simplest terms I can. What happened?
Well, I personally, from what I could tell, there was there's a lack of, honestly, it looked like there was a lack of concern, a lack of will to win on the Gaffney sideline. And I will be I've never hidden my feelings, and I've never, I'm always going to be blunt about it. I mean, Dorman came out; they wanted that game more than Gaffney did. Here's the thing: if you're from Gaffney, you understand what homecoming means in Gaffney, and so yesterday was homecoming for Gaffney, and honestly, homecoming is a huge distraction.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Gaffney does homecoming unlike any other school does homecoming. They have an assembly and pep rally and all kinds of things. And, I don't know that the students are in class except for maybe an hour out of the school day. So huge distraction to begin with. And I think that along with Dorman really just coming out, they wanted that win more. You mentioned it. Dorman didn't score a touchdown. Dorman didn't even sniff the red zone, honestly. But, when you got a kicker that can kick 41-plus yard field goals, I mean, he kicked 2 41-yarders last night. So you really don't have to get in the red zone to be able to get points.
No, you don't.
And so that's exactly what Dorman did last night. They were able to just get within his field goal range and get what was needed to win. Dorman's defense, they were going after Javon Gilmore all night. Javon Gilmore was being taken down in the backfield. Not just Javon, but Gaffney's running backs as well.
I was going to say Gaffney didn't run the football last night.
Unable to get anything going on the ground.
Like 40 yards rushing?
30. Yeah, 30. So, Dorman's front seven went after the ball all night.
Well, Gaffney not being able to run the football. When you talk about a team that's trying to get back on track offensively in terms of getting their quarterback comfortable, who we all know has had some struggles as of late, the number one thing you do need in that formula for success is a run game, right? To take pressure off of the quarterback, obviously, and be able to control the tempo of the game. And if you don't have that, obviously that's going to hurt the team, but also hurt the development and improvement of the quarterback with Javon Gilmore. So just a very, very shocking score last night. I don't believe many people predicted Dorman to win that game over Gaffney last night, Alex, the first loss of the season. And what's interesting, you and I talked about it. Gaffney had been on the right end of a lot of close games this year. 4 games in particular where Jamarcus Smith single-handedly won Gaffney the game. And I believe we said it on here not long ago. There were a few plays away from being a 2-3 loss team. So, just on the wrong end of that one last night. We'll see how the Indians bounce back. Who do they have this week?
They are at Wade Hampton this week.
Well, they'll bounce back. They'll bounce back against Wade Hampton. And then final regular season game, Alex, hosting Spartanburg.
Yes.
That is the game that falls on the week that's the extra week. Yeah. The extra week is the word I was looking for there. So, again, very, very surprised by that. You don't expect to see that. You don't expect to see only 7 points out of Gaffney last night. Big win for the Cavaliers, though. All the credit in the world to them. You said it. It seemed as if they wanted that one more. Cavaliers win 9-7 over Gaffney. That was a big surprise. We will talk to Jake Morris, the head football coach of the Dorman Cavaliers, coming up at 9:20 on the show, about 1 hour and 5 minutes from right now. So stay tuned for that. Dorman fans, again, 9:20, we'll talk to Jake Morris over in Roebuck. The game I was at, Alex, we'll get this one out of the way. I say game, wasn't much of a game. 58-14, Spartanburg throttles the Burns Rebels. One of the most lopsided victories in that series since the 1990s. It's been a long time since that series has been that lopsided, or a game in that series has been that lopsided in favor of Spartanburg. But 2 sides of the coin here. On the Burns side, another undisciplined game last night. Obviously, we all know the struggles Burns has had offensively all season long. Those struggles continued last night against a very good Spartanburg defense. Burns scored 1 offensive touchdown last night. They did have a pick 6. That's how they got their 2 touchdowns. just I'll tell you this, and again, the players work hard, the coaches coach hard, and they do put in a lot of effort during the week. And I don't want to be Mr. Critical this morning because everybody can give criticism, but this Burns team, this program just doesn't seem to be going in a good direction. They're continuing to lose games. Hopefully, next year's better. I don't know exactly, what next year will look like. Obviously, a new stadium, right? And you'll have some fresh faces on that team. But this team just not going in the right direction, man. Just not playing good football offensively. It's been one of the worst years in Burns football history in terms of how bad the offense is. Not able to really present much of a threat. On the Spartanburg side of things, Alex, they pinned their ears back and they came after Burns. That is the best Spartanburg team I've seen in a long time. It's the best Spartanburg team that I think Mark Hodge has had in his 5 years there. You and I have kind of talked about it all year. Spartanburg's good. Spartanburg's good. Spartanburg's good. And, they beat Bowling Springs 27-7 last week. And we're like, oh, wow, maybe Bowling Springs. And then again, this week they come out 58-14 over Burns. And I know Burns is way down compared to, normal standard. But, Alex, the way Spartanburg won that game last night, it seems as if this Spartanburg team is on a different level and has a different mindset than Spartanburg teams of the past.
Yeah, and when I was talking to you last night after both of our games, Cole, you mentioned that Spartanburg team that you saw last night was a championship team.
Yes,
you felt like that they were a championship caliber team, and so I think the thing that's interesting to me and things are going to have to change over in Cherokee County if this is going to be the case. But that game in 2 weeks looming for both Gaffney and Spartanburg now turns into your region championship.
It does.
We were talking about beginning of the season and through the first 3 weeks of the season, how that Gaffney Boiling Springs game felt like it would be the region championship. Yep. And now Spartanburg has really come on the scene, and Spartanburg really, their one loss on the season was 24-7
to a state champ,
to Dutch Fork.
And again, I told somebody, I think it was you I told last night, I think Spartanburg is going to make a run.
Yeah.
They are a championship caliber team. They're so good, man. Offensively, Trey Burke just does just enough. He does exactly what's asked of him. They have a spectacular running back who's a sophomore. A really good running game. Trenton Lynch, the running back for Spartanburg, he's freaking incredible. I was super impressed with him. And they've got dudes on the outside. They have dudes Rice and Calvin Choice. They've got really good dudes on the outside that can go and make plays. And then their offensive line's a lot better. Their offensive line is so much better. Matthew Love and Michael Lancaster, both two of the best coaches offensively in terms of offensive line in the area. And both of them on the same staff, man, you can see how well they block and how hard they play. You saw that last night. And then defensively, good grief, where do you start? Their linebackers, their four linebackers, man, they run 3-4. And their four linebackers are as good as I've seen all year. They're so fast. They're disciplined. This team's well coached. This Spartanburg team led by Mark Hodge, I give them a ton of credit. They are well coached. They do not make a ton of mistakes, Alex. And then one of the most impressive things that I've seen in a very, very long time, I want to give a huge shout out, Alex, to Will Love, the junior kicker / punter for Spartanburg, who puts it through the end zone every time, punts the ball like you've never seen before. Last night, he hit a 54-yard field goal. Yep, in high school, 54 yards, and it wasn't even close.
Wow.
Wasn't even close.
Wow.
That gave Spartanburg a 45-7 lead over Burns. So shout out to Will Love, man. That kid, his brother's at Virginia Tech, John Love, who played at Spartanburg. And Will, he's really good.
Are you telling me if he wants to, might be playing on Sundays?
He could probably play on Saturday, which would lead to playing on Sunday.
Okay.
That's usually how that works.
There are NFL kickers that can't kick a 54-yarder. So.
54 yards, like it was nothing. The funny thing is, it was a 49-yard field goal. We had a penalty. They're like, oh, no big deal. Just 5 more yards. And he just punished that. He is so good. He is so good. So shout out to him. 54-yard field goal last night. Again, to the player that got hurt for Burns last night and the player in the Woodruff Chapman game as well. Hope both of them recover well. They were two pretty serious injuries. They did have to call the Spartanburg game, the Woodruff Chapman game a little early, and there were discussions with 5.5 to play after a very long injury timeout last night at Spartanburg. There were discussions, Alex, to call that game as well, but they decided to play it out, which was only like 4 or 5 more plays. It really didn't make a huge difference. So we will continue the conversation on the other side. If you were at a game last night, you want to get your thoughts in, you can do so. 71307. Start your text with the word fan. Phone lines also open. 844-FAN phone. That's 844-326-3663. Again, 844-326-3663. We continue the high school football conversation next, right here on the Fan Upstate. We're going to talk a little Woodruff Wolverine football in about 15 minutes. We will be joined by Brett Sloan, the head football coach of the Woodruff Wolverines. They had a big win over Chapman last night, Alex. 44-10. Woodruff is looking really good in 2024. We'll talk to Brett Sloan about 8:40, 8:42 right here on the Saturday Morning Scramble, so stay tuned for that. We will talk to Jake Morris, the head football coach of the Dorman Cavaliers, coming up at 9:20. So we have Brett Sloan, 8:40, Jake Morris, 9:20. We will also take your phone calls between now and then, 844-FAN-PHONE. If you want to chime in and talk about a game you were at last night or want to talk about a game in general, you can do so, 844-326-3663. Text line open as well, 71307. Start your text with the word fan. We're also live on Twitter, Facebook, and YouTube. You can watch the show on those platforms. Alex, we have not asked this question yet, but the games that surprised you, or the game that surprised you, we do that every week on the Saturday Morning Scramble. Which of last night's games in Week 9 jumped off to you and surprised you the most?
Well, I mean, I think we've already talked about the one that really surprised me the most, and I think probably surprised a lot of people, was the Gaffney-Dorman game. Otherwise, Cole, I think a lot of the games really kind of went as expected last night.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, both you and I had pretty good weeks in picks.
Sure.
So, when we have weeks that good in picks, I feel like, well, nothing really surprises me. I think the dominance of Spartanburg over Burns was very surprising. And then, I mean, I'm just kind of scrolling through the scores here, trying to see, but
I'm glad you brought that up.
Yeah.
With the way that Spartanburg beat Burns.
Yeah.
It didn't surprise me.
Okay.
I told our good buddy Jason Patterson, who does the TV broadcast for My 40.
Yeah.
I told him and Tom before the game started. We were chatting, and I told them both. I said, "Look, I'm no expert, but I said I do have a feel for tonight's game." I told them both. I said, "Look, every game that Burns has played in 2024 has been close. Every game, wins, losses, every game's been close. Obviously, the Wade Hampton game, East Side, you throw those out. But the losses, even, were very close." I told them last night, Alex, that I felt like last night the dam was going to break, and it did. I didn't think last night's game would be close. I thought Spartanburg would win big. They did. 58-14. I know to a lot of people that surprises you because you're not used to seeing Burns lose that badly. However, it didn't surprise me. And again, I've seen this team. They struggle offensively. I knew they weren't going to score many touchdowns last night, Alex, on a very good Spartanburg defense. Maybe I didn't think Spartanburg would score 58 points. Maybe I thought it might be more in the 40s, but that's a very good Spartanburg team. So I agree with you there. Obviously, the one that surprised me as well the most, Dorman 9, Gaffney 7. We've talked about that one, a game where Gaffney was not able to run the football effectively at all. And Javon Gilmore, the quarterback, he had an okay night, one touchdown, 100-something yards, Alex?
Yeah, 161. He was 11 of 21 for 161.
So not a terrible night for him. Obviously, though, that game did surprise a lot of people. 9-7, Dorman over Gaffney. How about Boiling Springs bouncing back the way they did? 41-6 over Riverside. We talked a lot last week, Alex, about that Boiling Springs loss to Spartanburg, right? 27-7, and how we were just surprised by that one. You and I both were, and the way that Spartanburg kind of dominated Boiling Springs last week. And, Boiling Springs had some injuries this week, and they're still dealing with injuries. 6 starters were out, was what I was told last night for the Bulldogs. So going into that game, I just wasn't exactly sure how they would play, how they would respond. But, boy, Alex, did they respond in the right way. 41-6 win over Riverside last night. That looked like the Boiling Springs team we were used to seeing this season.
Yeah, I mean, Boiling Springs really, they let everybody know, hey, we've got a couple of region losses, and you look at those region losses. One was in overtime to Gaffney, 28-22, which again, Gaffney had the horseshoe, the rabbit's foot, the pot of gold at the end of the rainbow, whatever you want to call it. And Jamarcus Smith won that game for the Indians. And then you mentioned it, that 27-7 loss to Spartanburg. Other than that, last night was their second region win. They've got 2 games to play. It's Burns and East Side. So I'll be interested to see how they come out next week against Burns. Does Burns try to bounce back and figure out, all right, we just got embarrassed more or less by Spartanburg, and now we really are trying to fight for some kind of playoff position, or does Boiling Springs get the best of them? And early lean on that one. I got to give it to Boiling Springs the way that they've been playing.
But you shouldn't. That's a big win for them last night. I was very impressed with the way that they responded last night after the loss, coming back and beating Riverside the way they did, because this is a good Riverside football team, a Riverside team that took Gaffney all the way to the wire. So a 41-6 win. It seemed as if Boiling Springs kind of got back on track offensively to what we were used to seeing, thus far in some of those big blowout wins. Yeah. For the Bulldogs. Chad on the Facebook stream says, good morning, gentlemen. Chad, what's up, man? Good to see you. Good luck to those Hillcrest Rams this evening. I cannot wait to see how that one goes. Early lean, though, I feel good about it. Hillcrest, man, that have had a fantastic season. And, has Jackson and those guys had a lot to do with that. It's going to be a lot of fun to watch this afternoon. What time did you say that game was, Alex?
That game is at 2 o'clock.
2 o'clock.
Yeah,
between
2 o'clock.
I said tonight. I apologize. 2 o'clock.
Hillcrest and Woodmont.
Hillcrest and Wood at Hillcrest.
At Hillcrest.
So good luck to them tonight, or today rather, at 2 p.m. Some really good football, and again, I tell you, man, I've seen a lot of highlights on Jackson. Chad's son, and who's playing quarterback. That kid's going to be really I say he's going to be special. He already is. He's a really, really good quarterback. And boy, we talked to Bennett Swaggart about him last week, Alex. You and I did. Boy, is he fun to watch. He is a lot of fun to watch. So Hillcrest, 2 o'clock today should be very interesting. JL Man Greenwood or was that on Tuesday? JL Man Greenwood.
JL Man Greenwood. Yeah, all of those scores are from Tuesday.
From Tuesday. So again, there were 7 games Tuesday. Now, tell me if I'm wrong here. Are the flip-flop, the odd games, are those done now? Will everybody be back on schedule, those 2 regions on Friday?
I think so, yes.
I think so as well.
Because I think the last 2 weeks of the season have gotten –
are today.
Yeah.
Well, the last non-traditional game is today, and they should be back on track for the last 2 weeks, which I get it. If you had to have that weird week of playing 4 games and 14 days, whatever it was, you don't want to do it at the end of the season. Yeah. So now maybe these 2 weeks can kind of build some normalcy, because, hey, for a lot of these guys, it's been a long time since they played on a Friday night.
Yeah.
They played on Saturday originally.
Saturday, Thursday, Tuesday, Saturday.
So it's been over a month.
I realize coaching staffs, they have their routines of, all right, we're playing on Friday, so this is what we're going to do Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. I mean, what are you doing when you're playing Saturday, Tuesday, Saturday again?
Preparation.
Clearly.
Quick preparation is what you're doing. And obviously your practice is limited because you can't practice in full capacity like you normally could. But no, Eastside does get a big win in region play last night, Alex. It's been a while since those guys won 34-0 over Wade Hampton. So a big shout out to Eastside. Wade Hampton struggling, man. First year, Reuben Wright. They've struggled for a very long time. It's just not a football place. It's not a football culture. So no surprise there. Eastside has some athletes. I thought you and I both picked Eastside. Is that right?
Yeah, we both picked Eastside.
Now, I asked you a minute ago what game surprised you. I know you picked Emerald because I picked Fountain Inn. You wanted to go against the grain there. But, boy, Emerald over Fountain Inn surprised me last night, Alex. I didn't see that one coming. And you told me, if I'm not mistaken, that was a overtime game.
Yeah, double overtime.
Double
overtime. Emerald won it on a field goal.
Wow.
37-34. So, I would say that was one that, that was homecoming game for Fountain Inn, which, homecoming doesn't necessarily mean anything, but it's a homecoming game for Fountain Inn. The way that that community rallies around that team and rallies around a brand new school. This is their 3rd year in existence, third or 4th year in existence.
22 was their first.
Yeah.
It went 0-10. 23. So third, this is their third year. And I think this is the first year they actually have like a full class.
First year, first year that they have senior football players.
Right.
So it's the way that community rallies around. I mean, I went to one of those games early in the season, and they had that place packed out. I talked to their head coach, Brett Nichols, after the game, and he mentioned to me that they had to, over the off season, over the summer, they had to add seating to their stadium and expand the seating at their stadium because of the way that the community shows up and shows out.
That was awesome, man, to see that. And a tough loss for them last night. I've got a couple of buddies who were on the coaching staff over there, so I know that was a tough one. But an double overtime game, as you said, Alex, very, very interesting to see that. I'll tell you this, that was, again, only the third season. That was the first matchup ever between those two schools, and what a good one it was for the first one, right? Yeah. I mean, what a way to get that series started if you're Emerald and Fountain Inn, a double overtime game. No surprise the way Wren won, a big win for them, 63-0 over Southside. And let's see, a couple of more before we run to a break and talk a little Woodruff football. Blue Ridge, they did take one on the chin last night, 47-21 to a very good Tuesday night to a very good Seneca team. We talked about that one a little bit during our Saturday morning scramble preview, Alex. But last night, BHP over Pendleton. That game wasn't close. Another surprise, I did pick Chesney. I thought they would get Crescent last night, but what a win that was for Crescent. You picked Crescent?
I picked Crescent just to go against you.
And it worked. It worked. Let's see, man. The Crescent's not a bad football team, obviously, but that last night was the 12th meeting overall between those two programs. It's a rivalry, Alex, or a series rather, that Chesney leads 8-3, now 8-4. So Chesney had the upper hand in that matchup. They really did.
Yeah, and that's an out of region matchup for those two teams. So I mean, for them to have for both teams to have played that many times and in non-region play, and that may have been a region game in years past, but for that to be a non-region game this year and still to have that kind of rivalry to it, it says something.
All right, on the other side, we will talk to Brett Sloan, the head football coach of the Woodruff Wolverines. A huge win for Woodruff last night. We'll talk all about it next. Talking a little Woodruff Wolverine football as we go to the phones and bring in Brett Sloan, the head football coach of the Woodruff Wolverines. Coach, I know you are preoccupied with your son's baseball game this morning. We appreciate you taking a little bit of time to hop on with us. First of all, most importantly, how's he doing? What's the score? Can you give us a live update?
Oh, well, we're 7-0 right now, so we're off to a fast start this morning.
Fireworks on this Saturday morning.
That's right. That's right.
Coach, speaking of fireworks, that's what it was last night for your offense, a big win over Chapman. When you look at that game, man, you know what, you guys coming off of a loss where I'm sure you were focused, 44-10 win over Chapman. What went into last night's win for you guys after that tough loss last week?
I mean, you know, we just went back to doing what we do and being who we are, to be honest. You know, I mean, our kids are really resilient. You know, they're encouraging me on Saturday and stuff. And, you know, Coach, we're not done yet. You know, and I mean, we were disappointed in the loss, but we felt like we proved that we belong, you know, because we were right there for the entire game with MVP with a chance to win it in the fourth quarter. And, you know, just didn't quite get the job done. Our execution failed us in a couple of key moments. And, you know, I think the layoff hurt us a little bit. We were a little rusty in a couple of things, you know, but, you know, hats off to those guys because they did a great job. And, you know, they're a really good football team. But our kids are tough. They're resilient. They know they still have a lot to play for, you know. So our whole message each week was, you know, we got to continue to work toward our ultimate goal, you know, and we feel like we got a good team and we feel like we've got a chance if we can continue to get better to you know, make some noise here in the playoffs. So that's kind of, but, you know, at the same time, we got to take them 1 week at a time. And I think our kids did a fantastic job of that. We talk about it every week, going 1-0, you know, and, you know, and we just refocused. And, you know, I told them I was going to tell you the same thing, whether we won or lost against MVP, and that's the fact that what we do on Monday is who we are, you know, and that doesn't change. We're still going to go through the same process, and we're still going to, you know, do all the same things. We're going to practice the same way, and we're going to prepare the same way, and, you know, we're going to get better and, you know, figure out where we went wrong and what our flaws are and work to correct those things. So, and we would have done the same thing had we won the game. So, at the end of the day, you know, it's about our process. So.
Talking to Brett Sloan, the head football coach of the Woodruff Wolverines, a big win over Chapman, 44-10. Coach, talk about some players last night for those that didn't keep up with the game who are maybe just hearing about it for the first time, players that had a big impact in that win for you.
I mean, you know, obviously TJ played really well for us. He continues to do that each and every week. You know, Cam Taylor was big for us, had 2 really big catches in the first half. I thought he was going to get a touchdown on our first series. He came up just short, and then, you know, he got one a little bit later, so he played a great game for us. And then, you know, Corey Moats was very active. Aiden Gibson, Jalen Robertson, who went down with an injury. He had some really big runs in the first half, and, you know, defensively, I thought we played our best game. You know, other than giving up one long run coming right out of the half, we were really, really excellent. And I was really proud of those guys. So, you know, just a great team effort over there, led by Hunter West and Jordan Hood and Sean Graybill and Trey Rogers, and those guys. They were really good last night. So.
Coach, last question for you. What was your message to your team last night as you look down the stretch now, just a couple of games left?
I mean, let's go one at a time. You know, we can't get ahead of ourselves. We can't look back. We can't look forward. We got to be present. You know, and we got to take, and we got to get the things. You know, continue to the things we're struggling with. We got to continue to get better at them. You know, we got to make our weaknesses strengths, and, you know, really got to just keep trusting what we do. You know, and that's the big thing. So.
Coach, congratulations on the win. We appreciate your time, and best of luck the rest of the way.
Thank you, guys. Y'all have a great Saturday. Okay?
Absolutely. You too, Coach. That's Brett Sloan, the head football coach of the Woodruff Wolverines. Appreciate him taking time to hop on with us this morning as he said he was at his son's baseball game. Alex, I wish I had that much energy on a Saturday morning at 8:45. Goodness gracious. How do they do it?
I know it's coming for me. You know, I got a 2-year-old at home, so it's coming sooner rather than later that I'm going to be out there Well, I mean, hopefully, still hosting the show with you at that point.
Keith might be a pretty good baseball player, though.
I'll have an excuse to show up a little late.
Appreciate Coach Sloan joining us on the show. Really good job he's done in his second season at Woodruff. 44-10 win over Chapman. Like, this Woodruff team, they're a team that's only gotten better and better. And, man, offensively, I have been impressed with them. And, they continue to show that offensively they have a lot of threats. And to his point, they hung in there with MVP and continued to fight in what was a heck of a game last week, a tough loss for Woodruff against a really good MVP team. And I'm impressed with this Woodruff team. Alex, what's their do you have their record off the top of your head or over there pulled up on your screens? Are they a one-loss team or a two-loss team?
One loss, 6-1. Their lone loss last week at Mountain View in Newberry or whatever their one loss. And you mentioned the offensive production that they have, that Woodruff has, and he mentioned Coach mentioned his quarterback and TJ Morris. Returner from last year, over 2,500 yards passing last year. So pretty impressive quarterback that Woodruff has. But yeah, they close out the season. They're at home the last two games of the season against Union and Broome. So, between the two of those, it's a combined 5-9 record between Union and Broome. So Woodruff looks poised now to finish the season 8-1.
Yeah, and have a good shot to go make a run in the playoffs. I mean, this is a good Woodruff team, and again, only in a second season. Last year had some challenges, did Brett Sloan, but man, in the second season they have they've gotten that program back on track in winning ways, the way that Woodruff people are used to. I mean, that's a big win for them last night. And then on the Chapman side of things, Alex, they continue to struggle this season. Only 2 wins. Is that right for the Chapman Panthers?
Yeah, that's right. They're 2-7. Those 2 wins last week at Union, 35-13, and week 1. All the way back week 1, St. Joe's, 35-21.
So, this is a Chapman team that has lost a lot of talent, over the years. They're not the same team that was winning state championships under Mark Hodge and, Harry Cavanis and those guys doing a good job. But, man, I don't think people in that area, it's been a while since they've gone through these type of seasons. They were very accustomed to winning and Harry Cavanis off to a great start in his tenure at Chapman, winning region championships. And, this year they've had a very, very difficult schedule. Obviously, they just haven't had the same kids, the same talent that they've had in years past. But it'll be interesting to see where Chapman goes in terms of talent and, if this trajectory continues or if they bounce back and get back to the Chapman that was, winning state championships not too long ago. So a tough loss for Chapman, 44-10. Over Woodruff over Chapman, rather. Also in District 1, Alex, Landrum took a tough one on the chin last night. Liberty, 42-24 in a game that I picked incorrect. I don't know. I guess I underestimated Liberty. How big of a win is that right there? 42-24. A tough loss for Landrum. Landrum, I talked about Chapman having a tough schedule. Landrum has – in a good way, for a large part of the season, been a victim to their schedule. A lot of, I don't want to say easy wins. No win is easy, in the game of football, but a favorable schedule, kind of early Landrum or early Alex that allowed Landrum to get some early wins on that schedule.
Yeah, they strung together their 5 wins between week 1 and October 11th, whatever week that was at this point, and. You look at their 5 wins. They've got Berea, Ware Shoals, Polk County out of North Carolina, West Oak, and Blacksburg in those 5 games. And their closest game was Ware Shoals game when it was 54-26. Every other game they didn't allow their opponent to score more than 6 points. Wow. So pretty impressive string of wins there for Landrum. Last 2 games, you mentioned it. I mean, they played Clinton 2 weeks ago, 56-22. Clinton is a great football team. Last night, the loss to Liberty, 42-24, and they've got that week 0 loss, 20-14 to Walhalla. But, you look at Liberty and what they've been able to do this season as well. They've got a week 0 loss to Fountain Inn. And then they've got a few wins. They've got 4 wins. They're 4-3 right now. against Southside, Palmetto, Walhalla, and then last night Landrum. So the other losses for Liberty are Pickens and Chesney.
Oh, it's very interesting. Very interesting to see. Landrum obviously looking like a team that will get in the postseason, but will be very interesting to watch down the stretch. Again, appreciate Brett Sloan for joining us on the program, the head football coach of the Woodruff Wolverines.
Thanks for joining us on the program while at his son's baseball game.
Yeah, there's a lot of loud noises. Sounded like Johnny over there to his left was kind of rambunctious. I was like,
he's one of those
dads.
dads. Yeah, God.
I mean, good God. I mean, that, at 8 o'clock in the morning, they
parents that coach from the stands. Jeez.
Tell you what, yeah. I mean, gosh, you Gaffney fans, you should know something about that, right? Coaching from the stands. Sorry, shots fired. I apologize. Catching strays. We will also be joined by
I'm going home.
We will also be joined by Jake Morris of the Dorman Cavaliers at 9:20 in the program, as Dorman had a big win over Gaffney last night. Obviously, a lot of games to get to that we have not dove into yet. There are games today. How many games did you say today?
7 games today.
So there were 7 games Tuesday, and then 7 games today.
You want to know what games are today?
On the other side, I would love to know. I would love for our audience, to know as well. 7 games today, a lot of scores from last night that we'll get to. We'll tell you how we did last night in our weekly picks.
Yeah.
We'll hear from Jake Morris of Dorman at 9:20. Also, we'll take your thoughts, phone calls, text, however you want to send them in, 71307. That's the way you can text the show. Again, 71307. Start your text with the word FAN. Hour number 2 of the Saturday Morning Scramble coming right at you. But first, I want to say, hey, thanks to Founders Federal Credit Union for sponsoring the Saturday Morning Scramble as always. Thanks to Ingles Markets. We love Ingles. We'll be back at Ingles starting next week. The month of October, obviously, we have been in the studio as Ingles gets back on their feet. Also, big shout out and thanks to Lumos Internet. New to the area, new internet service, Lumos. Appreciate them sponsoring the Saturday Morning Scramble as well. Hour number 2 of the program next. Hour number 2 of the Saturday Morning Scramble coming at you as we are putting week 9 in the rear view mirror, looking ahead to week number 10 here in just a few days. High school football season, sad to say, Alex Guest, but it is almost to an end.
It's over.
I hate it. It's absolutely tragic. It goes by way too fast. We appreciate you joining the show. 231 right now watching the show on the stream, Twitter, Facebook, and YouTube. A lot to get to from last night. Scores, how Alex and I did. We'll talk to Jake Morris at 9:20. Wanted to get to a couple of texts and comments, though, before we dive back into the conversation and hear the scores from last night. Texter says, or ask rather, Cole, who is the offensive coach for Burns? They need a change. Offensively, they're led by Jordan Dura and Craig Wyke. But Texter, I know that your frustration with Burns mounting, or you're asking the question about them needing a change in offensive play caller. I don't know that would do much this season. They just don't have the dudes offensively. They don't have the guys. Their offensive line's struggling, and at the quarterback position, they haven't been consistent. So, you got to have the right pieces there. So, I think it's a mix. Everybody always wants to blame the coach offensively or defensively, and sometimes that's fair. Sometimes that's warranted. But Burns, if you have followed them and watched them, you can see that they're just not the same Burns team we're all used to. They just have a talent deficiency on the offensive side of the football. Texter says, Cole, on the way to Daniel, BR Blue Ridge at Daniel, noon kick and 11 a.m. airtime. So Daniel Blue Ridge, one of the 7 games today. We'll get to that.
We're going to that, right?
We're going to that.
Yeah. You're going to that.
Oh,
right?
no.
Oh, okay.
You are.
No.
Holly on the Facebook stream says, just curious, do you follow Eastside football? We do, Holly. A big win. We mentioned them earlier in hour number 1. They had a big win over Wade Hampton last night. What was that, Alex? 38-0?
34-0. I did find a few stats of that game last night. Quarterback Peyton Schrader, 6 of 14, 84 yards and a touchdown. He also had 9 carries for 102 yards on the ground. Tankersley had 5 carries for 32 yards. And Eli Foster, 23 carries for 220 yards and 3 touchdowns last night. So
how about that? Was that their 4th win of the year?
That was Eastside's. I think so. You've got me in a.
I know. I'll put you on the
fourth,
spot.
Yeah, fourth win. They strung together 3 straight losses to start region play against Spartanburg, Riverside, and Burns, and got back in the win column last night, 34-0.
Yeah, Eastside's pretty much had a good grip on the series with Wade Hampton, as a lot of teams have, right? Eastside now leads that 35-22. Alex,
yeah,
they had won 5 in a row. They did lose in 2022. Won last year against that was Andre Woolcock and Travis Miller going at it. And first year, Reuben Wright at Wade Hampton. Andre Woolcock gets the win. A big win for Eastside in the region last night. You mentioned it, the 4th win of the season. Also the first region win for Eastside. So a big win for those guys.
And a tough region too.
Yeah, a very tough region. Steven on the stream says, how about them Cavs? Steven, you're right. How about it, buddy? Just a couple of weeks ago, Steven, you were calling for a change. I wonder, are you still calling for the change?
It might be. I mean,
I know I say that tongue in cheek. Steven knows I'm halfway kidding on that. Obviously, Dorman fans were frustrated earlier in the season, but hey, anytime you can beat Gaffney, it's a big win, 9-6. And if you can beat them without scoring a touchdown, boy, somehow, some way, I wouldn't have thought that would have happened, but it did last night. Again, final score 9-6. Speaking of scores, Alex, let's hear you. Let's hear you. Scores from last night as well as Tuesday night, week 9 scores. Here they are.
Yeah, Tuesday night action in 5A Region 1. J.O. Mann knocked off Greenwood 31-14. Hillcrest a 38-14 winner over Greenville. Woodmont defeated Malden at home 34-28. And T.L. Hanna a 57-20 winner over Easley on Tuesday night. Those 8 teams will play today. I'll have those game times here in just a moment. Spartanburg last night, a big winner over Burns, 58-14. We just mentioned it. Dorman, a 9-7 winner over Gaffney. Eastside, 34-0 winners at Wade Hampton. Boiling Springs, a 41-6 winner over Riverside. Emerald and Fountain Inn go down to double overtime, and Emerald, a 37-34 winner in double overtime at Fountain Inn. Wren blanks Southside 63-0. It is Westside, a 49-3 winner over Lawrence. Greer on Tuesday night, a 42-21 winner over Pickens. Also Tuesday night action, Daniel defeated Berea 56-0. And also on Tuesday night, Seneca, a 47-21 winner at Blue Ridge. Last night, Belton Honeypath, a 48-7 winner at Pendleton. Crescent defeated Chesney 21-10. Walhalla blanked West Oak 62-0. St. Joe's, a 35-14 winner over Palmetto. Powdersville gets a big win over Carolina 56-20. Christchurch and Southside Christian. Well, Southside Christian took a couple of intentional safeties, and 2 times 2 is 4, and that's what Christchurch won by 11-7. Last night was the final.
Didn't expect that score.
Mountain View Prep got a win at home at PC over Broome, 49-20. Woodruff 44-10 over Chapman. Clinton 61-14 winners over Blacksburg. Liberty 42-24 winners over Landrum. Abbeville gets a big 63-14 win over Dixie. You know, I saw that score early on. It was tied at 7.
Ooh.
And I said, okay, that might be a game. And then 63-14. Greenwood Christian, a 47-6 winner over Clarendon Hall. And Spartanburg Christian falls to Calhoun Academy 50-7.
There you go. Week 9 scores in the book.
With the exception of 7 games today.
Thank you. Speaking of the 7 games today, I know we discussed them in hour number 1, but a quick refresh for a new audience here in hour number 2 of the program. 7 games in the upstate today, and do you have those?
Yeah, a nooner down at Daniel. Daniel will host Blue Ridge. We just mentioned that. You're going to that game. So
that's incorrect information.
Cole will be signing autographs at that game.
That's false information. It's not happening.
Daniel hosting Blue Ridge at 12. Travelers Rest hosting Berea, and Seneca hosting Pickens. Both of those games at 1 o'clock today. And in 5A Region 1, a 2 o'clock kickoff, Hillcrest hosting Woodmont at 6:30 this evening. TL Hanna hosting Greenville. And then 2 7 o'clock kicks tonight. Greenwood hosting Easley, and J.O. Mann making a trip to Malden.
Those are the games today. How about it? A little Saturday action. And I believe those 2 regions, Alex, after today, going into the next 2 weeks, will be back on track. Obviously, those 2 regions that are a little wonky on the schedules decided to play all of their games. And we mentioned it now. Number 1.
That?
Why would they?
Why would you want to play all your games?
Well, you want to play.
You know, I mean, why would you want to do that?
You want to play every game.
Yeah, I mean, why though? You know,
you want to play. You're kidding.
Yeah, I'm kidding.
You're kidding. I know you are. And then you and I last night. How do we do on our picks?
You missed 4 games this week.
It's unacceptable.
You were 7-0 on Tuesday.
I want to recount.
Okay. Well. I just recounted, and you missed 4 games. You were 21-4 overall so far with the 7 games to play today. So 21-4 right now. You have the chance to go 28-4 if you get those 7 games correct. I think. Well,
I'll plan on it. I plan on getting all 7 correct today.
I went 23-2 on the picks this week. My 2 misses were Malden on Tuesday night. I really thought Malden was going to get back in the win column yet again and string together 3 straight wins, but Woodmont tripped them up 34-28. And then I also picked Gaffney to beat Dorman last night.
As did I.
And that one was a miss as well.
Yep, we missed on that one.
Big
Both
swing
did.
and miss.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And then your other 3 hiccups for yourself. You picked Fountain Inn over Emerald. I mean, that one, double overtime could have been a coin toss, I guess. That's a push. That's
Sadly, my coin didn't land the right way. But yeah, what a game that was! Double overtime, Fountain Inn. I've seen Fountain Inn a couple of times in preseason stuff, and you've seen them during the season. They've got talent.
They have a lot of talent.
They're going to keep getting better and better.
And they've got a great coaching staff down there too.
They do.
It's just
take time.
young school.
Yep.
You also picked Chesney over Crescent. That one went 21-10 in favor of Crescent.
And again, Chesney was up 10-0.
Yeah.
I was like, I saw the score update, feeling good. And then Crescent scores 27 unanswered points.
Yeah. And you picked Landrum over Liberty.
Yeah, I don't know what I was thinking there.
Yeah.
Don't know what Liberty, good team.
I don't know what you were thinking there.
Liberty, good team. How about the run, Alex, that Greer's been on? We didn't touch on that in hour number 1, but tell me if I'm wrong here. We've got a win streak for the Greer Yellow Jackets dating all the way back to again, correct me if this is misinformation, but dating all the way back to the Burns win. Greer all of a sudden on a heater.
Yeah, that's correct. Their last loss was way back on September 6th. A lot has happened
it has.
Since September 6th. I mean, we had a hurricane and a couple of weeks off. And
you said September 6th was their last loss?
September 6th was their last loss. Oh. And that, if you remember at the time, that was the 28-21 loss to Hillcrest.
Yep, where we were like
very
surprised.
Yeah, we were both very surprised that game was even that close. Then you mentioned it the next week. That was a Thursday night game that they played Burns and got the big win over Burns, 18-10. Since then, they've strung together 5 straight wins. So 63-0 over Berea, 49-21 over Blue Ridge, 21-13 over at that point in time, an undefeated Seneca team, and 42-21 on Tuesday night at Pickens. They actually have a quote-unquote bye this week, so they are not playing today. Their next game is on the road at Daniel next Friday.
And, talking to Will Young a couple of weeks ago, he said in that fourth quarter against Hillcrest is when we kind of turned the corner.
Yeah.
And the next week they beat Burns, and now all of a sudden they're on a 5-game win streak, Alex. This is the longest win streak of the regular season since 2018 for Will Young and Greer. Obviously, that season they only lost 1 game. It was 2 Burns, and then they went on a heater. Beat Spartanburg, Westside, Malden, Union, Greenville, TR, Berea, Eastside, and Blue Ridge, and then won 4 and lost in the state championship, to Myrtle Beach.
Yeah, the heartbreaker to Myrtle Beach.
Yeah.
I was actually at that game.
Yeah,
and that was a game that, realistically, Greer really was the better team, but Myrtle Beach just came out and did what they needed to do to win that game. So
they won 13 in a row in 2018. 13 in a row, man. And then again, right now, they're 5 in a row right now. As you mentioned, Greer has a bye. The TR game, I believe they axed that game, Alex, the game that they missed.
That is on November 8th.
Oh, they're going to play that one.
They're
so they only missed one.
They
only missed one game. Greer?
Or they? Yeah, they're going to play all.
Okay, gotcha.
Yeah, because they played
they played wonky schedule. Okay. So Daniel's the next opponent for Greer. Obviously, we all know how good Daniel is, but it'll be interesting to see. I mean, they've got momentum, and I know momentum's not everything, but this Greer team, they've gotten better, and I've seen them, once. This season, they've got talent. They really do. Listen, I know they didn't start the season well. 43-0 loss to Bowling Springs, 37-7 loss to BHP, but they're just continuing to get better and better every week. This isn't the same Greer team we saw in week 0 against Bowling Springs.
Absolutely not.
Where they got blown out 43-0.
I'm not saying they beat Bowling Springs, but I'd love to see that game played again.
Well,
at this point in the season.
Yeah, and again, I think, just a lot of credit goes to Will Young and that staff. They've got that team moving in the right direction. 5 wins in a row for Greer. So hats off to them and that staff. Again, there are 7 games today, as Alex just mentioned. But a few that we discussed in hour number 1, Alex, Spartanburg 58-14 over Burns last night. Spartanburg is legit. I think this is the best Spartanburg team that Mark Hodge has had. This was one of the most lopsided victories for Spartanburg over Burns since the 1990s. But what a win last night, 58-14. I said to you last night on the phone, this Spartanburg team to me last night is again, I've seen them one time this season. They're a championship caliber team. They really are. They have a very, very good defense. And, I think this Spartanburg team, if they I'll just put it to you like this. They lost to Dutch Fork earlier in the season by what, 2 touchdowns?
Yeah, 24-7.
Okay, so a little more than that. But I don't know if Dutch Fork wants to see this Spartanburg team again in the postseason. I mean, Spartanburg beat them last year, right, in the regular season.
Yeah.
This is a team that I think is going to make some noise, like make a deep run. They're just well coached. They're disciplined. They've got a ton of talent, and their defense is so good. And we all know the old saying that defense wins championships, Alex, but like there's a lot of truth to that. There's a lot of truth to if you have a balanced offense that can complement that defense. And last night they just, that balanced offense put up 58 points. So, and a couple of them were defensive touchdowns, or one of them was a defensive touchdown as well. But it's a Spartanburg team that I think in 5 years from Mark Hodge, this is his most complete team. I know he's won one region championship already at Spartanburg. I believe in a second season, Alex, in 2021. But this is as complete as a Spartanburg team as I have seen in a long, long time.
Championship contenders.
Yeah, I think so. Also in that same region, Bowling Springs bounces back 41-6 over Riverside. The Bulldogs kind of looked like the Bulldogs, Alex, that we were accustomed to, to start the season and most of the way through the season. And then, the Gaffney loss, they kind of took that one and then didn't play well against Spartanburg, but two good teams there. And now all of a sudden Bowling Springs looks to be back on track. So a big win for Matt Rill and those guys, 41-6 over Riverside. Bowling Springs, looking at the rest of the schedule, they have Burns this week, Alex, at home, and then they have one more on that built-in week.
At Eastside. Yep.
At Eastside.
At Eastside.
So look, Bowling Springs, like despite those two losses, they got a good chance to win out. They won last night in a big fashion. They got a good chance to win these next two games. They really do. Their offense starts clicking again, and I know they're dealing with injuries. Everybody is right now at this point in the season, but I'll tell you, man, they got a good chance to make a run as well. And I think in 5A, Alex, if I'm not mistaken, they'll also be in Division I with Spartanburg. So you could see another Bowling Springs Spartanburg matchup a little bit later in the postseason, potentially.
Yeah, and you very well could see that early on in the playoffs as well.
Yeah, just depending on how the seeding is.
Because they're not doing, in years past, they tried to break it up to where you didn't have the same region playing each other first or second round. Now
I don't mind it.
Yeah, I don't either. Now it's, you very well could have Spartanburg Boiling Springs first round of the playoffs.
Yep. And you could see rematches with some lower seeds too. And again, I do think that RPI on the way the postseason is structured this season. I told somebody the other day, Alex, I'm not against it. I know this is the first year, right? Like I asked Jerome Singleton in the high school league what challenges he thought it would present. And he's, a couple of weeks ago, he said, look, I don't know. But what I do find very fascinating, Alex, is look, I mean, this is something new. And we may, again, I could be wrong here, but we may come out of this after this season and love this new RPI. North Carolina does it the same way. So it'll be very interesting to see, seeding. I've already heard from a couple of coaches this morning in terms of what a couple of games last night's outcome meant for their teams. So, boy, as the season gets close to an end, it'll be very interesting to see how this RPI ranks these teams in the postseason. All right, we're going to take a break. On the other side, we will be joined by Jake Morris, the head football coach of the Dorman Cavaliers. A big win for them last night over Gaffney, 9-6 or 9-7 rather, as the Cavaliers get a huge region win. We'll talk Dorman football with Jake Morris next, right here on the Fan Upstate. Hour number 2 rolling on. Saturday morning scramble right here on the Fan Upstate, talking high school football from the upstate of South Carolina, Greenville County, Spartanburg County, surrounding counties. You've heard scores from last night. We'll continue to look at what happened last night, as well as look ahead to what is Week 10, just 6 days from today, is high school football season nearing its end. Going to talk a little Dorman Cavalier football now, as we are joined by Jake Morris, the head football coach of the Dorman Cavaliers. Coach, I got a fun one for you. If I'd have told you last night going into that game, Coach, you will not score a touchdown, what would your answer to me or your response to me have been?
I hope you're wrong.
You know what? Fair point. 9-7 last night, Dorman over Gaffney. But again, you guys, you got it done any way you could, whatever way you had to get it done. Dorman gets the big win over Gaffney. I know that one meant a lot to you last night, Coach, on the road at Gaffney. But talk about the way that your guys, for those that weren't there, continued to battle and able to get those 3 field goals last night to get the win.
Yeah, I mean, just extremely proud of them. I mean, you got to look at the job Bryce O'Neal did, just leading the offense. We come out, we looked completely different last night. Brought over 2 defensive linemen, and Braden Melton and James Porter brought them over some tight end and fullback sets, and just, you know, hey, we're just going to line up and just get back to old Dorman football and just run power run and you know, eat this clock and control the ball, which we did. You know, that was the game plan. And Bryce comes up with a huge 4th down and long run right there towards the end of the game in the 4th quarter to set up that field goal to win it. So just extremely proud of those guys, and just the continuing just to come on the field and just play after play after play. And then our defense just improves every week. I mean, they're just, you know, just playing lights out right now. Extremely proud of them. The front 7 in our box just playing, you know, extremely well. And Paul Contavion Anderson and Drew Darby, those guys are playing really well also. And our secondary is improving every week, and that's the things that you want to see.
Coach Jake Morris, the head football coach of the Dorman Cavaliers, joining us right here on the Saturday Scramble on the Fan Upstate. Coach, you mentioned the change, kind of you guys tweaking the offense a little bit, bringing in some heavy set, if you will, doing a little power run that you just mentioned. Was that something that you saw on film that you felt like could work against Gaffney, or is that something you guys want to continue to do the rest of the season?
I think that's something you got to look at yourself. As you look at yourself, you always try to adjust. And what can we do? What can we not do? And in order for us to have the best chance to win games, we feel like that's what we got to do offensively. And we started that on Monday, and our guys bought into it and really executed, you know, really well Friday night. And they went over there in the reservation, tough place, and we had some success in it. And so, you know, I don't see us getting out of that. But I think that was also a deal that as you watch film against Gaffney, we feel like everybody's trying to run sideline to sideline on them, which is what they want. You know, they're really fast and athletic, and, you know, if you want to beat speed, we got to run right at it. And, you know, we stuck with our game plan and did that, and extremely proud of our guys for executing that last night.
Coach, talk about your field goal kicker. I mean, his 3 scores last night were pretty important. 9-7 win, 3 field goals is what got the job done last night against the Indians.
Yeah, listen, Ransom Farr continues to get better, you know, every week. I mean, just extremely proud of him. The work ethic he brings every day to practice and then the games. You know, he's a soccer player also, so he's starting the goalie for our soccer team, and just does some incredible things. Just a great young man. I mean, just so proud of him. I couldn't say enough how proud I am of him. And I don't have any doubt when I send him on the field. When I know I get inside of his range and I send him on the field, you know, I don't have any doubt in the kid to come through. And it's funny, he hit the game winner last night. He turned around and looked at me and said, "I got you, coach." And just, I mean, just, you know, had a great game. So just so proud of him.
We're talking to Jake Morris, the head football coach of the Dorman Cavaliers, after a 9-7 win over Gaffney. When you talk about confidence, Coach, going down the stretch, you know, entering the postseason here in a couple of weeks, your team obviously needs the confidence. You build up that confidence after wins during the course of the season. But what kind of confidence does this give your team, being able to go on the road and beat a team like Gaffney?
I think it's huge. You know, we had a big confidence builder last week against Wade Hampton, where we just got to have fun. We got to take the pressure off ourselves, and just have a good time. You know, and then you come into the reservation, which is, you know, a ton of respect that I have for Gaffney and for Coach Jones and for the reservation and Cherokee County and what they do. So it's always fun to go over there and play because I feel like we, both sides respect each other really well. And it's just a fun place, fun environment to play in. And, just play free. And that's what our guys did. And we executed the game plan. We didn't have any pressure. And so we go in there and we play free and we come out with a win. That's just a huge confidence builder for us just moving forward. Now we got to continue that into next week with Eastside.
Coach, I believe it was around 30-18, 30-17 or so in terms of time of possession, the minutes last night. You mentioned it earlier in the interview about wanting to control time of possession. When you talk about running the football and controlling time of possession, obviously it does a lot for your offense, but on the flip side, what does that do for the Dorman defense as well?
Well, it keeps them off the field and it keeps those guys fresh. We've had so many games this year where it came down to the wire and our defense just played so many snaps because we've been 3 and out. And, those guys can't hold up forever.
Yeah.
And so that's the plan there was going in. Hey, let's keep our offense on the field. Let's establish drives. Let's give our defensive staff time to make some adjustments and checks and give our guys time to get fresh. So when they come back out, they are. And, I think, hats off to our guys that executed it to a T. The only thing that we want to see more is some touchdowns there, not field goals. But, hats off to the offensive line playing extremely well. Najee Fowler, Dick Means, Isaac Tate, our backfield duo there. Those 3 guys just ran the ball extremely hard. And then Bryce just led it and executed the game plan. And then defense was able to come out and do what they did. And I thought we had a lot of success there. Katavion Anderson played a tremendous game for us. Drew Darby played probably one of the best games of his career. And he continues to get better. And then our defensive line just, we roll guys in and out and we don't really see a big drop off. You had 2 guys playing both ways with James Porter and Braden Melton. And they're getting the job done. And Tyrese Johnson's just a force in there. And Chance Earl. List could go on and on and on. And just our safeties played really well with Deshaun Robertson and Brady Gradley. Just extremely proud of those guys and the things they did. But that was the plan. Just, keep them off the field, keep our offense off the field, and let's eat this clock and make sure we can take it down to the wire here.
Coach, a home game to finish the season for your team next Friday, hosting Eastside. Then you have a bye because you guys were able to play Burns earlier on that Wednesday, so you only had 1 game to make up. So Eastside is Friday. I know it's early on a Saturday morning, but what do you know about this Eastside team coming off of a win last night?
Yeah, they're still, they're a well-coached team. I know their head coach really well. Him and I go back from our North Greenville days, but they're a well-coached team. They got a good defensive lineman. They got some athletes on the field. So it's definitely not a game that you can look past at all by any stretch of the means. So we've got to come in prepared and ready to play. And again, we got to focus on winning the moment and the process of that, and not worry about anything else and let the rest take care of itself.
Coach, we appreciate your time. Congratulations on the 9-7 win last night. We'll talk to you again soon.
Thank you.
That's Coach Jake Morris, the head football coach of the Dorman Cavaliers. 9-7 win, a big win for his Cavaliers. As he mentioned, you just heard him right here on the Saturday Morning Scramble. And Alex, we talked excuse me. We talked about it last week. It's Wade Hampton. We all know Wade Hampton's just not a good team, but we mentioned it and he just hit on it. It was a huge confidence boost. And I think I touched on this earlier. Like, confidence isn't everything. However, you do need it. And those guys being able last week to go out and beat Wade Hampton 58-0, I think that gave them some confidence just in terms of what they have the ability to do. Now, I know the offensive production didn't translate into last night. Weren't able to score a touchdown, but, to their credit, 3 field goals, Alex, you were at that game. 3 field goals was all they needed. And, what's interesting on the flip side, Gaffney offensively going against Dorman's defense, it seemed as if Dorman's defense last night, you saw them for the first time. Well, excuse me, for the second time, because you saw them against Burns as well. But in your mind, what was it about Dorman's defense that kind of kept Gaffney, kept him down only 1 score last night?
Well, and I think Coach Morris really mentioned it there as well. I mean, the Dorman defense that I saw back on September 25th against Burns in that game against Burns looked like that defense last night looked like a completely different defense. I mean, Dorman's front 7, they were getting into the Gaffney backfield within a half second of the ball being snapped. I mean, they were swarming to the ball. They were swarming to the ball carrier. They were, when you change basically it sounded like what Coach Morris said there was that they changed their entire playbook, both on the offensive and defensive side of the ball, based on what they saw on film from Gaffney to be able to beat them. And I personally, I believe that because they moved the ball better last night than they did against Burns when I saw them back at the end of September.
Yep.
And defensively, they played a heck of a lot better football defensively last night than I even thought or imagined that they would have last. So, I mean,
it's a big win nonetheless. 9-7 again. I know they didn't score a touchdown, but usually the team that scores a touchdown wins the game compared to a team that doesn't. However, the 3 field goals last night was all the Cavaliers needed. Coach mentioned the good game from Bryce O'Neal at quarterback, as well as Drew Darby. Somebody else who was there last night told me, Alex, that Drew Darby, who we had on the show a few weeks back, out of the Eagles, said that he had an incredible game last night. And you saw him again. He's a heck of a football player, a really, really good linebacker in the upstate. So Dorman getting some confidence on a little bit of a heater now, and winners of 2 straight going into the East Side game. They had the loss to Spartanburg 23-7, which wasn't a blowout by any stretch of the imagination, right? Pretty close. And again, 14-3 loss to Burns. The only loss this season that Dorman's had that hadn't been close was Grayson. Back on the 30th of August. 53-0, something like that.
Yeah, 53-0. And Cole, I mean, I know the old saying of if it's and buts or candy and nuts, we all have a great Christmas or whatever. But do you think Dorman wishes they maybe didn't play that game against Burns on that Wednesday night before the storm, and they waited till the end of the season to play it? I mean,
it's interesting. Obviously they're playing better now, right?
Yeah.
But at the same time, if I think as long as they're playing this well or playing this way rather going into the postseason, that gives them a chance, and maybe that bye week will be good for them to kind of continue to work on the changes that they've made to that offense. But really interesting to hear from Coach Jake Moore. So appreciate his time this morning. Also appreciate Brett Sloan of Woodruff for hopping on with us in hour number 1 of the program. We'll take our final break. We will come back. It's your last chance to get in on the conversation. 71307. That's the text line. Phone lines are open as well. 844-FAN-PHONE, 844-326-3663. We'll put a bow on what happened. We'll put a bow on what happened last night. Also, in case you missed it, there are 7 games today in the upstate, and then we will start looking ahead to what is Week 10 coming up on the other side. He's Alex Guest. I'm Cole Bryce, and this is the Saturday Morning Scramble, brought to you by Ingles Markets, Founders Federal Credit Union, and Lumos Fiber. It's hot in here, man.
Hilliard called me during that segment.
Greenville, 97.1 FM Spartanburg.
Streaming everywhere on the Odyssey app.
Big thanks to Founders Federal Credit Union, as well as Ingalls Markets, as well as Lumos Internet. Lumos, built for the future. Appreciate those three sponsors and all they do for the Saturday Morning Scramble. Glad to have you along as well. 71307 is the text line. Saving your phone. Start your text with the word fan. The high school football conversation continues. I want to say thanks to Brett Sloan and Jake Morris, both for joining us on the program this morning. Big nights for both of their teams. We've talked about the games last night. Alex, any that we missed? Before we put a bow on this week 9 and go to week 10 and look at the games today, anything on the week 9 slate that we missed? I know we mentioned a big win for St. Joe's, a weird score for Christ Church, 11-7 over Southside Christian. Big win for Mountain View last night. They continue to roll, 49-20 over Broome. Woodruff, we talked to them. Blacksburg, how about that? We didn't really mention that. Blacksburg, a tough. We all knew what that was going to be, right? Clinton's a heck of a football team. Buzzsaw, 61-14 win for Clinton over Blacksburg. I don't think there was a lot of shock there, Alex. Blacksburg, obviously, just not on the same level as Clinton, and that's with all the respect in the world because Clinton's that good. Clinton's a good football team, and I know we have a couple of listeners up that way, but, man, what a team they are and what a season they've had. That Corey Fountain just has done a terrific job at Clinton. We also mentioned Westside with a huge win, 49-3. They continue to roll opponents. No really surprise there. But a lot of games last night as well as Tuesday night. And as we mentioned before we kind of put a bow on it and look at next week's games, there are 7 games today, Alex, and should be interesting. I mean, I think for the most part we've got a good pulse on these games. You and I have, I believe you said, one game picked differently. Is that right?
One game picked differently today. And
that is?
That is Berea at Travelers Rest. You were taking the Devil Dogs.
Man. You doubting the Devil Dogs on me over there?
You were taking the Devil Dogs. I am taking the Bulldogs.
So the Dogs are going to win. It's just a matter if it's going to be the Devil Dogs or the Bulldogs.
Correct.
Berea's what? 2-5.
Yeah.
0-3 in the region. Travelers Rest 1-5. You know, I'm going to pick Travelers Rest for the sake.
You already have.
Well, I'm going to pick them because Chris Goodman's a good coach.
Yeah.
They run that wing style offense. I think that should give Berea some issues. And Berea's on a losing streak right now. 4 in a row. I expect.
Well, so is Travelers Rest.
Well, you have to bring that up. You don't have to bring. How many in a row for them? 5?
5
in a row?
6.
God,
they won their first game of the season against Wade Hampton,
and
they haven't won since.
Well, I think they're going to win today.
Okay,
but who knows? That one's
who knows.
That's one of those kind of you just toss a coin in the air, right? We shall.
Hopefully
see.
The coin lands in the favor of the Bulldogs.
No, don't.
The coin. Hopefully the coin lands in favor of the Dogs.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Either way, the Dogs are going to win. Other games today, but real quick, Alex, before we look at Week 10, games happening in the Upstate, 7 games total today.
Yeah, Blue Ridge at Daniel. That one's at noon. Sorry for all you fans out there. Cole will actually not be at that one. He's going to go home and catch up on lost sleep. Berea at Travelers Rest and Pickens at Seneca. Both of those are 1 o'clock kicks. 2 o'clock, Woodmont visiting Hillcrest. Should be a good game there. 6:30.
Should be, man.
Yes, should be. 6:30 this evening. Greenville at TL Hanna. And then 2 7 o'clock kicks. Easley at Greenwood and J.O. Man at Malden.
I do think Woodmont Hillcrest will be interesting. I like Hillcrest. I'm super high on them. They've had such a good year, and man, they've got playmakers all over the field. Woodmont's a good team. Woodmont battled a lot of injuries early in the year. Good quarterback, a really good team.
Yep.
Again, they've had some injuries. Jordan Sink and those guys do a good job, but we'll see if they can. Going against Hillcrest is tough. It really has. We'll see if they can get the win today. On the text line, 71307, start your text with the word fan. Joey chimes in. Joey, what's up, man? Good to hear from you. Joey chimes in on our show, Diesel and I show, Wire to Wire in the afternoons. Joey says, I've been out of school 26 years, and one constant hasn't changed. My Generals are a guaranteed win for anyone on their schedule. LOL. Joey, I hate to say this, but you're right. You're right on that. They are. It's tough.
You know what, Joey? 2012, Gaffney made a trip over there to Wade Hampton and thought that they were going to get an easy win, and Wade Hampton beat them. And then Gaffney made some changes and went on to win the state championship.
Never lost again that year.
Yeah, but yeah.
Joey wasn't asking about Gaffney.
No, I know.
He doesn't care about your Gaffney.
I was just saying that it's not.
But he doesn't care.
They aren't necessarily a guaranteed
But
win
he doesn't
for teams
care
on the schedule.
about your Gaffney Indians, Joey.
Hey, Joey, if you'll be at that game next week, I'll be there. Come say hey.
We could be talking about, sugar and spice and then the restaurant next door. And Alex, Gaffney, nobody asked about
sugar and
Gaffney.
spice in Spartanburg. Gaffney players have
nobody
probably
asked
eaten
about
there.
Gaffney. God, jeez, you're such a homer. Such a fanboy over there.
Cole, I've got 5 games I'm watching next week.
Only 5.
Only
now, how
5.
are you going to watch 5 at a time?
Well, no, just 5 games that I'm interested in that I want to keep up
5
with scores of.
games.
5 games.
All right, I'm intrigued.
Okay.
You going to tell me the 5
Yeah,
games?
I'm
Or are you
gonna
going to
tell
leave me
you.
hanging? I mean,
Liberty at Blacksburg. I think that's a game both teams need.
yeah, it is.
Yeah.
My early lean
Liberty
there.
at Blacksburg. Yeah.
Early lean Liberty.
Chapman at Broome. Neither team has had a good season, but
by the way, that's Thursday night.
Oh, that's Thursday night. Okay, Chapman at Broome.
At Spartanburg.
Oh, yeah, that's right, because Broome is missing a light station.
Helene took a light or 2 or 3 from Broome.
Or 7.
Oh, yeah, how many ever. And, they're playing at Spartanburg.
Okay.
Is that Halloween?
Yeah.
Halloween.
Halloween. I will be trick-or-treating, not watching football.
Well, you know what? You're right. Both of those teams just, and again, Broome lost the running back. We all know, how good he was and how good he is now. But both of those teams, Alex, you're right, they need it. So that'll be an intriguing game.
Another intriguing game, Greer at Daniel.
Yep, I agree with that.
I'd be interested. We talked about Greer. They've strung together a nice 5 wins now. So I'd be interested to see how they respond and come out and play against Daniel. Eastside Dorman, I think, is an intriguing game for me, just to see, is Dorman coming off the high of winning, of beating Gaffney this week, Eastside fighting for playoff position as well. I'd be interested to see how that one. And then what I think is my game of the week, Cole, is the Wren at Westside game.
Yeah, Wren's offensively, they're explosive. They really are. It's going to be a good. I think Westside wins, but I do think Wren, Alex, to your point, should be able to challenge them. So there are some good games on slate for next week, week 10. Again, only one Thursday game that I know of, Alex. Other than that, I think the schedule's pretty normal, right?
Yeah, I think so.
Everybody's
back to playing on Fridays.
And then some teams will have 2 games remaining. Some will have 1. Just depending on what they did there. I like those 5. No pushback there. Woodmont easily. Woodmont will be on a little bit of a short week, right? Jailman, Greenville, Hillcrest, Greenwood, Hannah Malden, Bowling Springs hosting Burns. The way the trajectory of Burns right now, it seems as if Bowling Springs, their trajectory is going up. The trajectory of Burns kind of going down. So it seems as if Bowling Springs is in prime position to get a win Friday night there at home. They'll be fired up for it. As you know, you mentioned Dorman Eastside, Gaffney, Wade Hampton. Don't really think that'll be much of a game. Obviously, Gaffney should have a big night there. Is that on the road?
That's at Wade Hampton, yeah.
Not a far trip for you on Friday.
No, nice.
Shorter than normal. Spartanburg, Riverside could be interesting, right? Let's see how Riverside bounces back after that tough loss last night to Bowling Springs, and Bowling Springs looked really, really good last night. Lincoln Husky was on fire as he was in the earlier part of the season, and we'll see how Riverside bounces back. Fountain Inn, speaking of bounce back, I think they'll bounce back against Southside. That's my early lean there. I think that'll be a good one. I do agree with you, though. Greer Daniel's intriguing because we all know Daniel's like Daniel. They're that good. They did lose a lot, though, from last year. Even though they lost a lot, excuse me, even though they lost a lot from last year, they're still really, really good. They're still a good team.
Only have 1 loss on the season.
What was that one loss to?
Jailman.
Wow, that's right. Yeah. That was early in the season, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Forget about that. Man, time flies. Let me see here. I like your 5. St. Joe's Powdersville might be a decent game. Early lean there. Powdersville, obviously, the Halloween night between Chapman and Broome. That one's a tough one to kind of find an early lean on, Alex, because, Chapman's only a 2-win team. Broome, has also had its struggles in 2024. Same region. It's a region game. MVP's way out in front in that region, though, ahead of Woodruff. But I don't know. Who's your early lean here?
I think I'm leaning Broome. But that one, you're right. I mean, that one's tough to pick. And I think that one –
that might be a close game.
I think the reason that I said that I want to pay attention to that game next week is just because of how difficult and how tough it is to sit here on today, on October 26th, and say, this is who I think is going to win this game.
Well, I'm with you. I think that one's talking about Chapman Broome. I think that one's intriguing. Both teams need it, right?
Yeah.
You've had two programs this year that have, had some tough stretches, Alex. But it being at Spartanburg is interesting. So they're playing the game at Spartanburg between Chapman and Broome. Again, Broome having some issues with their lights. Chapman does lead that all-time series, Alex, 20-14. So Chapman has had an advantage. And here's an interesting note about that game. Chapman has won 9 straight against Broome.
Broome is due.
They're due, right? Chapman's won 9 straight. That's the longest streak in that series history. The last time Broome beat Chapman, September the 12th, 2014. That is a long time.
The kids that are on these teams were in elementary school.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Harry Cavanis has won 4 straight, 38-35. Now, last year was a very close game, 38-35. The year before was not 32-6, 48-41 and 21, and then 48-24. So Chapman scored a lot of points. They scored 61 in 2017 against Broome. Mark Hodges, obviously in his run at Chapman. So it'll be very interesting to see. You're looking at 4. Yeah, again, I want to make sure I did my math right because, I'm not good at math. That's a impressive win streak. So we'll see if Broome can get their first win over Chapman since 2014.
You want to know what's sad?
No, yeah, I do want to know.
Okay. There are some teams who had a week 10 bye on the season.
Yeah.
Whose seasons are done now.
Oh.
Because next week is week 10.
And they didn't make the playoffs. Yeah. Yeah, that is sad. Why'd you have to bring that up? That's a little.
However, with that added week at the end of the season, they may pick up a game and just play a game, just for the game. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I know they talked about that when they made that decision on the high school league, and obviously that's up to the schools, right?
Some teams out there that will not play any football the rest of the year.
Man, God. What, coming in with a Debbie Downer? I mean, that kind of brought the
and that's your show.
Yeah, I appreciate that. Some seasons are over. Woodruff Union County also. Chesney Landrum. How about that one? Did you mention Chesney Landrum?
I did not.
That's a big game. That's a rivalry game.
It is.
That is Brent Bridges at Landrum versus his old team.
Yeah.
I like that game. Yeah. Great analysis.
Yeah, great.
Great analysis, great. Alex Guest. Yeah. So a lot of games.
I downed the mood, and now I'm just
no.
Yeah.
7 games today, a full slate of games next Friday night. We appreciate you for listening to the program or watching the program, whichever you chose to do. 277 currently right now on the stream. Appreciate them as well. We will see you the Saturday Scramble. Despite some teams' season being over, Saturday Scramble rolls on until the 7th of December. We'll see you next week live in person back at Ingalls.
Yeah.